Okay, good. Levels look nice. Levels look like they're jumping nicely tonight. Mic is steady. Sound levels coming from the mic look steady. Brain checking in with the brain. Brain is mush as expected. It's totally mush. But hey, folks, it's episode 254. We persevere. We plow through. Buckle up. It's going to be a rocky one. It might be. I don't know where we're going. What should we say? What would she say? What would they say? Highway run. Oh, he's going Journey out of the gates. Didn't expect that. The brain has pulled a Journey song that I haven't heard in a long time. To the midnight sun. Whoa, your wheels go round and round. Uh-oh, he's struggling for lyrics, and that's how they go. Restless hearts, yeah, oh, sleep alone when you want it all the time, and the long wave goodbye. Those are not the lyrics, but it starts with highway run, do, to the midnight sun. And that's the song that ends up like faithfully do-dee-bee-oo, do-do-bee-ch, da-dip, do-do-dee. But when most people hear highway run, ooh, they melt. They melt. That's how we're going to start. I was taking my daughters to the Bay Area Discovery Museum in Sausalito, and I was doing about 4 days of solo parenting. And for some people, that's very normal. For my wife and I, we've never done that. She went to Fargo. She went on a trip to visit her family, and I was back home with the girls, which sounded intimidating a little bit to take care of every meal, every bath. All the teeth get brushed, the hair gets brushed, bedtimes, leisure, recreation, arts and crafts. You know, in my head, I'm like, just summer camp counselor activities. We got to do one thing after the other. There could be no downtime, no screen time. We got to go. So I planned a bunch of activities, and it went really well. Okay, let me just get to the end. It was perfect. It was loving. It was sweet. It was full of bonding. But at the Bay Area Discovery Museum, we walk right in, and I was like, this place is a babysitter. The Bay Area Discovery Museum, it's not even a real museum. When I say museum, you're picturing people walking around a quiet room looking at artifacts. Fucking the word museum puts you to sleep. But this place, it's just right there on the Marin side of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's beautiful. There's all these little side rooms. There's all these little things to bang around, from bubbles to putt-putt golf to walking across a bridge, discovering an aquarium next to a guy who sells styrofoam out of his trunk. Was he a part of the museum? I don't know, but we bought something for $12. So the girls are having a blast, and we're walking around, and I'm like in that blissful zone. The sun was beating down. I had sunblock, I realized that's my job. Sunblock, all these little things that my wife does every day. I took over the reins, and I said, I'm going to be the guy that sprays the sunblock. Oh, does he need a trophy? He did 4 days of solo parenting. Look, folks, I am not here to brag, but it went pretty well, okay? So we're at the museum, and I'm just having that moment of like, everything's kind of nice and quiet. They're playing independently. They're playing sweetly with each other. And I heard a big mama scream behind me. She screamed, Delaney, say goodbye to Grandma's helper. And I was like, what? It like shook me out of my blissful zone. You know, when you're in such a chill mental state that, if anything jolts your system, it's like extra jarring. You're like, what was that? And then I heard it again. Delaney, say goodbye to Grandma's helper. And I'm thinking, I don't see all these people that the big mama's shouting at. And when I say big mama, I turned around and there was a mom who was big all around. And I didn't see Delaney, and I didn't see a grandma, and I didn't see Grandma's helper. And then I was like, that's a lot to unpack. And then I was just picturing, this is not something you want to yell publicly. It's not good for anyone. It's not good for me as it jolts my system. It's not great for Delaney. Let Delaney, I assume Delaney's a little kid at the Bay Area Discovery Museum playing with something. Why does Delaney have to stop playing to say goodbye to Grandma's helper? And do you really think Grandma wants to be put on blast like that in public, that she has a helper? Grandma's at the museum just trying to do her thing. Do we have to call it out? Grandma has a helper at the museum. The helper is taking Grandma all around from exhibit to exhibit and room to room. And you think the helper wants that? You think the helper's like, Delaney, say goodbye to me. No, the helper wants to be inconspicuous. Don't notice me. I'm on the clock. I'm just here to help Grandma. So Big Mama needs to shut the fuck up. That's what I surmise. That's my takeaway in the end. If you're coming to the Bay Area Discovery Museum, you got to have that cool, calm energy, not screaming at Delaney. And I assume Delaney is a kid. What do you think, boy or girl with that name? I don't know. I do not know. You know, the first time we were exposed to that in the world of comedy, hey, girl or boy, it's Pat. Remember the Julia Sweeney character? I don't think that would fly today. I think that would be viewed insensitive to the transgender community. It's Pat. It's time for androgyny. Here comes Pat. All these things when I'm 10, 11 years old that Saturday Night Live is exposing me to, I don't even question that, okay, they're clearly making fun of something that's going to be too sensitive in the year 2025. But at the time, it's Pat. You're like, Pat, what kind of name is Pat? More boy, more girl? And audience members were always confused. Is it a girl? Is it a boy? And then other names were like Terry. Other names like Delaney. Is that a boy name or a girl name? I don't know, but Delaney, say bye to Grandma's helper? If Delaney already said bye to Grandma, you don't need to say goodbye to Grandma's helper. Hey, folks, how you been? Let's connect for a moment. You been good? I've been decent, I would say. Okay, we're catching up a little bit. I'm still sleeping like shit. But now I'm taking some pills. No, not prescribed medication, you wonder, but my sister sent me some Unisom sleep gels. The generic version from Kroger, which is a grocery store we don't have out here, and I pop it. It works 1 out of every 4 sleeps. 1 out of every 4 sleeps. I'm having that good old-fashioned REM and waking up refreshed. The other days, like today, it's stingy eyes, and you're just walking through the day in that fog, in that groggy state where you're like, I can't wait till it's all done. That depressing feeling of like, am I getting back into bed yet? You're just climbing through all the responsibilities. You're plowing through, you're grinding, and then you look at your bed and you're like, oh, it's going to be shitty again. So that's not a good mindset to be in. But folks, I'm in therapy now. I'm 10 weeks deep into therapy. So we're going to find the root of this problem. So I stopped complaining to you about my sleeplessness, but I bet there's someone listening right now that can relate. So how did I sleep when my wife was out of town, when it was just me and the girls? Pretty well, actually. And that's offensive to my wife, because she's like, am I the problem? I'm like, you're not the problem. You're wonderful. You're beautiful. You're terrific. When she was gone, I read her diary front to back. What do you think she means in the diary when she says, my husband is a big fat slob? A lot of nuance to that part. What did she mean when she said old numbnuts needs to stop complaining? What does she mean by that? Huh. You know, I'm reading through her diary, and I'm just curious, what do you think she meant when she said, my husband is a dumb fucking piece of shit? Just kidding. She didn't write that, and I didn't read her diary. And even if I did read those statements, I don't think I would bring it to her attention. I think I would bottle that one up until the day I die. No, maybe on my deathbed I would go, what did you mean in your diary when you said numbnuts is a big dumb fucking slob? And then I croak. Croak sounds like an 80s term for kicking the bucket, saying goodbye, human existence. Goodbye. I'm now going to float on. What happens when we die? I don't think I was going to talk about this, but I don't think it's just darkness. Let me just get into some real deep shit after Delaney needs to say goodbye to Grandma's helper. That moment where you say goodbye, your last breath. I don't think it's the end. I don't. I'm going to live my life that way. If you want my philosophical beliefs, I think there's some darkness, but then I think you go into some other sphere of existence. I don't know. I'll elaborate on that in episode 255, but we don't have time for that. We don't have time. The point is, I was all alone, home alone. Actually, you're not home alone when you have little kids asleep, but you still get that like home alone freedom. But instead I just collapsed. But where was she? She was in Fargo, Moorhead, celebrating her great aunt's 100th birthday. Are you kidding? The first nights that my wife is ever away from her little kids, her little babies. It's because you got to go. When you have a relative celebrating their 100th, triple digits, you go. And Aunt May is a legend. Aunt May, it's tough to describe what that means to reach 100, right? 100, it's like that age where most relatives will be like, oh, just so elderly, so decrepit. She sleeps most of the day and she's not doing so well and she doesn't have control over her body or her senses. Not the case with Aunt May. That's what you would think. Like everyone shows up for their birthday party. They don't even have the energy to blow out a candle. Aunt May is unbelievable. Totally with it. Totally engaged. Probably the funniest person on that side of the family. And my wife comes back with stories of like how it was visiting family, seeing all these relatives. And I was like, let's get to it. How's Aunt May? And she showed me some videos and it wasn't what I expected. You see a 100-year-old celebrating their birthday, you get to 100? You'd think that you're looking at a lump of wrinkles at that point. Like me, if I get to 100, are you kidding me? Oh my God. I am going to be 100% blind, deaf, on all the meds. It's going to be weekend at Bernie's. I mean, I might have a pulse, but aside from that, you're just going to carry me room to room and give me my oatmeal before I fall asleep in the first quarter of the Warriors game. And then I wake up for the fourth quarter. Sorry, that's a very specific thing to envision. But my wife's showing me some of the footage, and at one point, Aunt May just stands up and she starts reciting a poem about her mattress. And it made me smile so big. And I'm going to play it right now. Aunt May, who I've met a few times, this woman is so wonderful. Born in 1925? Oh my good Lord, born in 25. It's now 2025, and she's not only with it, but she's dropping large poems, original poems that she writes. And she's not looking at notes. It's just straight from the dome. And whatever my relationship with sleep is right now, it's as shitty as it could be. And I've never been so inspired than the words of Aunt May talking about her relationship with her mattress. And probably the greatest poem I've ever heard. Move aside, Maya Angelou. Move aside, Langston Hughes. How many poets can I name? Move aside. Oh boy. Is Oscar Wilde a poet? Oh God, I'm out of poets that quickly. Who are famous poets? Just move aside all famous poets. Aunt May's about to drop some knowledge.
Okay, we're ready, May.
Me and my mattress, my best friend. When my eyelids get droopy and my body is weary, I go take a quick shower, put on a clean nightie. Then to the side of the bed I go, I throw back the covers, and whom do I see smiling back at me? My mattress, my friend. I climb into bed, pull the covers up to my chin, fold my hands in prayer to thank the good Lord for the joy of the day and my daily bread. Sleep comes quickly and like a wink of an eye. I awaken, look out the window and see a blue sky. I stretch, yawn, sit up, put my feet on the floor, go take a quick shower, then open the closet door. A smile appears on my face because I know today will be very much like yesterday. A day filled with friends, joy, and contentment.
Wow. Yay! Oh my God.
Are you kidding me? Have you ever been this inspired? Is it just me? Or was that the most uplifting, motivating poem you've ever heard? Holy shit. Oh my God. I love that as much as I love anything I've seen on Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Apple TV. Aunt May dropping the mattress poem? That is a woman. You could see her recipe. People ask, how do you do it? How do you wake up happy every day for 100 years? You heard it. You heard one poem and I'm like, oh, I get it. If you have that approach to life, perhaps that's the key to longevity, folks. Holy moly, happy 100th. I was actually telling some of my students where my wife is. She's visiting a relative who's celebrating 100. Raise your hand if you would want to live to 100. Some people actually don't raise their hand. I think more than half the class was like, because if you're not in Aunt May's shape, Aunt May's in good shape, but usually when people picture what it would be like at 100, it's a sad thought. I'm 43 and I'm seeing, oh my God, I'm seeing The wrinkles are there. The hair's getting gray. My vertical leap, it's still awesome. Don't get me wrong. But I get tired now at 9:40. I get tired at 10. I'm falling asleep on the couch. I'm already eating a diet that's so boring. I can't really just go to Taco Bell, In-N-Out, Jack in the Box, Burger King. When I take my girls to McDonald's for a Happy Meal, I can't get busy on those milkshakes because I know what it's going to lead to. That just lethargic feeling of regret and despair. I know that's a weird relationship to have with eating shitty food, but it's true. It leads that brain chemistry to wanting more and more and more of it. Holy moly. There was one thing I loved, a sweet moment. I was watching baseball with my oldest daughter, and it was the Giants-Cubs game. And, she's tuning in a little bit. She's trying to figure out what's happening. She shows interest. When I watch sports, she's like, who's winning? Who do we want to win? And then how do they win? She has the right questions. And I was like, I like the team in black, or I like the team in blue. I give her the color, and then she's able to look at the score and do the math. And she says, we're up by 4. And I'm like, yeah, we're doing math. Getting her interested in sports a little bit. And baseball, even though it's slow, she tuned in. She looked up at just the perfect time where there was a blooper, baseball blooper. And she saw this one guy dive for a ball in the outfield, and he missed, and then the ball just kind of like hits him in the hat, and the guy behind him had to field the ball. And it was funny. It was a funny blooper. It wasn't really an error. It was just a guy who was going so hard to try to make a diving catch, but he was so far from the ball that it bounced and kind of went past his face. And even the announcers were like, whoa. And Mila starts laughing. And then she looked at me. This was a sweet moment. She looked at me and she's like, wait, am I allowed to laugh? Like she didn't want to make it sound like she was making fun of something that I really liked. And I was like, yes. She doesn't understand the concept. Like we could always laugh at everything. Because I think at school, there's some things that are classified as, no, it's mean to laugh at someone who rips a fart. Or it's mean to laugh at someone who falls down. Some things that are kind of funny, they are taught in elementary school. Don't just laugh at everyone when they're having those moments. So when she sees a professional baseball player just belly flop in the outfield and she laughs to herself, she goes, am I allowed to laugh at that? And I go, yes, not only are you allowed, but when I was a kid, a baseball blooper was the most sacred, fun part of going to a game. You remember between innings, if you were going to a game, for me, a Giants or an A's game, there was, a dot race during an A's game. But I remember if there was a little break in the action, sometimes they would direct your attention to the Jumbotron for this week's bloopers. And that was it. There was no YouTube, but that would fill me. All of a sudden I would see some great bloopers, and it was probably only a 2-minute reel, but it would last. Nowadays, whatever you want, you just go to YouTube. And we did. I showed her some baseball bloopers on YouTube, and we kept the laughter going. But I was like, oh, that's so weird. The immediacy of what you want. As a kid, if I wanted more bloopers, like Mila in that moment, learning about baseball bloopers. You mean there's funny things in sports? Hell yeah, there's funny things in sports. So we go to YouTube, and just immediately she gets what she wants, and I'm able to show her. That's a weird way that we live now. The immediacy of everything. Everything. Every cuisine can come to my door in 30 minutes with Uber Eats. Everything I've ever wanted to wear can be at my door in 24, 48 hours with Amazon Prime. Everything I've ever wanted to watch, I just go to YouTube. I could type in a Warriors game from 1991 to see Run TMC. I could just watch a Run TMC game. I could watch any movie that's ever existed and listen to any song. So kids are growing up in that world, and I wonder what the effect is going to be. I actually don't know it. It's tough to analyze. Are they going to have a lack of appreciation for things because everything is just too easy to access? I don't know, but they're not going to have the type of patience like I did, where I was like, you know what? I'm going to attend a few ball games this summer, and that's when I get to see my bloopers. And the greatest blooper of all time is, I think it's a Cardinals game in the early 90s, and the catcher calls for, have I talked about this? Micah and I were laughing so hard. It's just the greatest blooper ever. Catcher gives the sign. Catcher in his mind, forgot who it is, maybe Jose Oquendo, is it Tom Pagnazzi? I don't know. But he's behind the dish, and he gives the sign for a pitch out, meaning I'm going to the side of the plate. We're going to try to get this runner we think he's about to steal. The pitcher does not get the sign. The pitcher throws a fastball right down the middle, and there's no catcher there, and it's a 100-mile-per-hour fastball right into the umpire's ball sack. And the ump goes down. He goes down on one knee, and you just feel his pain. And the pitcher runs towards him, and the catcher is dismayed. Oh no, what happened? But watching that ump, and I hope the ump was wearing a cup, probably a jockstrap. I don't know what his situation was, but you could just picture that baseball turning those balls to jelly. And why did we laugh so hard? I wish we had the etiquette of my daughter to say, can we laugh at that? But of course, it's a timeless gag. We love seeing people get hit in the nuts. When America's Funniest Home Videos first came out, all the dads, the montage of dads getting hit in the nuts with softballs and yo-yos and bowling pins and sprinting dogs getting hit in the balls. No one ever goes, ooh, oh man, that's tough to watch. It's usually just straight, pure laughter. My God, there are some things that are just always going to be funny. Always. Farts. Let's just say it. Farts. Wait, have they always been funny? Do you think, like going back to the 1500s, the 1400s? Do you think some of these key historic figures that we study, do you think that they would rip a fart and laugh? Like, would, I don't know, Leonardo da Vinci, mid-painting, rip one? And there were like people around the gallery, and he's like, y'all heard that? Y'all heard that, huh? Because we study them in their very serious tone. You know, these people before photography, when you just see their oil paintings or a bust of them, like Aristotle, did he rip a juicy fart from time to time? And some of the other philosophers around were like, ooh, what did you eat, Aristotle? Did they all just bust up laughing? I mean, bodily functions of all kind we can laugh at. It's what relates us. You know, but the historic figures like Beethoven. Did Beethoven ever have a big old zit on his butt and had to bend over backwards in a mirror? Did they have mirrors back then? Or was he blind or deaf? I don't know. He was one. He was probably deaf. But he may have been blind too, so it's tough to pop a zit on your ass in a mirror. But did he? Like, did he? I don't know. Did Julius Caesar ever sleepwalk into a pond? That's funny, even though it's scary. Did you guys hear about Julius last night? Sheesh. All the bodily functions. Let's always laugh at them. Go back deep into history. I mean deep. Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin probably drank so much tequila one night and just barfed all over his balls on the toilet, don't you think? That's not the story they tell. That is not the story they want you to hear. Henry VIII must have had some embarrassing dingleberries. A story that he still doesn't want to tell. Right? Augustus, the old Roman Empire. You think he ever had to hold in a fart during a speech? It just kind of came out and he had to like blame someone else. That wasn't me. I'm Augustus. Augustus? That was not me. I'm a serious historical figure. They're going to study me. You know Napoleon fainted into his girlfriend's bosoms at a tavern once. We don't tell that story. No. No, we don't. Sir Isaac Newton clearly had the runs. One day when he was creating calculus, he was late to his lecture because he was abusing the toilet. Ran out of toilet paper and had to use the phone book, like a lot of us in college. What was I talking about? Baseball bloopers? I don't know. Let's get back on topic. So all of history, we have 180 days to teach it. And if you only have 180 days and then we keep moving forward and there are historic things happening, anything from, a pandemic to the Obama years, to the Biden years, to the Trump years. I mean, there's more history being created right now. So what do you drop off the back end? Right? Or do you just teach it faster? Do you condense it? Do you shorten it? Like, history is going to leave some stuff out. My parents, when they were in history class, after World War II, the school year was done. Now I teach kids about stuff, from Vietnam. We get into the 1970s, the Ford years, the Carter years, the Reagan years, the Bush years. Like, we keep going. But what's happening now in Silicon Valley, we're just witnessing, right? As we're all just so addicted to our devices and we've seen this tech revolution happen, it will be taught, I've said this before, the way we discuss the Renaissance, the way we discuss those great painters and those thinkers and the humanist movement and the great poetry and philosophy that comes from this time in Italy and beyond, and it permeates through the world on the heels of the Reformation. You know what I'm talking about? So we will tell the story of the tech revolution. And when kids look at these iPhones, I'm not sure they'll care about the history of the software or the brilliant minds, these programmers that stayed up all night in the 70s and 80s working for all these little companies out in Cupertino and Los Altos and Mountain View area. But I was teaching some of my students. I was like, all right, we're going to do a little dive into your iPhones. You see these iPhones that have absolutely changed the world. They're averaging probably 9 hours a day. It's how they do everything. It's how they communicate. It's how they entertain themselves, listen to music, podcasts, watch YouTube videos. It's how they organize their to-do lists. It's how they submit homework. It's how they learn. It's how they sleep. I mean, it's their comfort. These devices, it's like humans now have their own battery pack. I don't think most teens that I teach could go a week or two without these phones. So what's the history? I think the first people that had the idea of, hey, mobile computing, take it with you. Touch screen, email, USB, like these things that we talk about, e-commerce, shopping. Go shopping from your device and it'll be there immediately. The history goes all the way back to the 80s. And it's a company none of us have ever heard of. It's called General Magic. I mean, some of you listening, maybe you've heard about it, but these are like the top minds. A lot of them came from Apple, and Apple was slightly involved, but it wasn't called Apple. It was called General Magic. And there was this visionary, Mark Porritt, and he said, I just saw it in my head. Like, it's almost like he was a wizard, a mystical wizard. He's like, I just saw it. The year was like 1989, and he's already drawing the blueprints for what iPhones look like. And it was fascinating. I was watching this documentary with some of my students, and we were seeing, okay, so they had the idea. It was the precursor to all these things that would go into what the iPhone was, but they didn't have the internet. They didn't commit to the internet. They thought it was just going to be a network of phones. Like, they were committed to AT&T. They didn't see the long game because no one could. No one could see in the future that even beyond AOL that we would just always have the internet, no matter where you are, from data to Wi-Fi. So at that time, they had everything. And then they released this device called the Magic, what was it called? The Link, maybe? And it was a total failure. So for 15 years, these people thought they failed, even though they created all of the technology that was the iPhone. But the year was only 1992, 93. The iPhone doesn't even come out until 2007. And at this time, this is good history, right? And at this time, Steve Jobs is not even running Apple anymore. He was already fired. So this span of years when IBM is dominating and no one even talked about Apple throughout the 80s, a lot of these programmers were working tirelessly on the tech that would become our iPhone. But there was this one young guy from Michigan named Tony Fadell. And Tony Fadell, this young kid, he moved out to Silicon Valley and he was learning how to do everything. And he was stumbling over, okay, this is how I discovered this, and this is how I discovered this. And there were, so many words I don't understand. But these nerds were so brilliant that even though the product never sold, this little Sony's Magic Link, it was in stores for like a week in 1994, 95. It was in stores like Fry's Electronic or Circuit City or Radio Shack for a week. No one bought it. No one cared. Everyone just walked by it. And even though it was a public offering that raised about $100 million, a concept. It was a concept idea that just raised over $100 million. So it had some success in the market and then immediately crashed because no one bought it and the product was flawed. And then all these employees just go elsewhere. And where did they go? Google, LinkedIn, Apple, and they start to become the brilliant minds. They were young with this company, General Magic, but then they go off and they branch out to all these apps that we know. It's almost like they were a dream team, but they were all so young and the world wasn't ready yet and internet wasn't readily available. But this one guy, Tony Fadell, he comes over to Apple. Steve Jobs is rehired at Apple and he brings over this young programmer named Tony. And Tony's like, I'm into music. And this is the time I was in the dorms when everybody was illegally downloading music, pirating it, MP3s. You remember Napster, this whole era. And Tony Fadell was like, all right, I got to have a device where everyone can stream their MP3 music. No, forget CDs, no more records, no more tapes. And he created the iPod. And I didn't have an iPod, but most people did. And you remember the touch screen of an iPod. And then the next model had actual apps. And this is what I learned, that the iPod is what became the iPhone in 2007. So iPod comes out in like 2001, 2002. And for the next 5 years, that was like the state of the art of tech, to have an iPod. And it kept becoming better and better and improving. And it was this revolutionary way of listening to music. But then you're like, I could also send a message on it. Or I could also type in some notes. So it started to have these other departments, not just stream your music. And then that slowly became the touch screen, and it became that one button. You remember the original iPhone that had that one button at the bottom, and then apps, and then emoticons. All this stuff already was talked about in the late 80s. Holy moly. That's a history lesson. And it's so interesting because I don't think these people could have ever envisioned in the late 80s, early 90s, what these phones would do to us today. I mean, we're in a mental health crisis, and a large part of it is because we can't get away from these phones. And there's good things, there's very good things, and there's very bad things. It'd be a great debate. Have they destroyed the world, or have they enhanced the world? These iPhones and smartphones and Androids that are just getting better and better and better and more addicting and more addicting and more addicting. I got my daily report. I'm under 2 hours. No, I'm lying. I'm like 2 hours and 10 minutes a day. And that still sounds like a lot. What am I doing for 2 hours and 10 minutes a day? Do I text that much? I think I do. I think I'm a text addict. There was so much else to get to. But I'm losing steam. I feel like there was a point. Oh yeah, the point was, even as I'm teaching about the history of iPhones, I think these students' brains are bored by it because they want to just go to their iPhones. Like, how many assignments, how many lessons are high school teens bored with because they feel the compulsion? They feel their brain, the dopamine, it could be completely enhanced by just holding their phone. So when we say phones away, there is a little like, oh no. And then I see staff and staff meetings, and I look at the staff, and I look at all the teachers and staff meetings. And when staff members get a little bit bored, they reach for it. You know, we're no better than them. But the digital natives, I don't think they know that the behavior is like poor behavior, to be condemned for it. You know, as teachers, we take it personally if we see you sending a secret text. Your phone is not supposed to be out, and we take it personally. To them, they're not like trying to offend. This is all they know. It's all they know. Tony Fadell is worth about $4 billion now. So yeah, that was a real failure, that magic link. But everyone's rich. Don't worry. Don't you worry about a thing. All right. Happy 100th, Aunt May. I think that's the theme of this episode. I appreciate you listening. Leave a nice rating, won't you now? Won't you, dear? And Delaney, come on. Say goodbye to Grandma's helper. What the hell did that mean? I'll probably never forget that. I forget already what I've had for breakfast today, but I'll never forget this fucking lady screaming, Delaney, say goodbye to Grandma's helper. This episode, it's in the books. It's where it has to go. I'm going to talk to you soon.